welcome to my video. Today we're going to be building a facial recognition program using the DeepFace AI tool. DeepFace is a neural network library that helps developers build applications with facial recognition. So yeah, let's get started. To begin, I'm going to create a project folder here. I'm just going to call it Face Proj. And let's start by creating a virtual environment. So to create a virtual environment, we use this command here. I'm going to call my virtual environment.vend. What we're going to do is inside this virtual environment, we're going to house all of our dependencies in there. So, let's activate it. All right, and let's also create our file that we're going to run here, our runner file. Okay, we can see our main file and our virtual environment here. Let's get our dependencies installed. So for this project, we're going to use a program called DeepFace. And let's use the install command correctly. We're going to go ahead and let that install. The second library we're going to use is called OpenCV, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to interact with our webcam. A few other tools we're going to need. We are going to need the Keras API, and we're going to need the threading core module with Python. So let's install the rest of that. Let's do OpenCV. What we're going to use, we're going to use the Python version. All right. And before I forget, let's, so DeepFace also runs on the TensorFlow Keras API. So we're going to install that as well. And we're going to use the correct command. All right. Perfect. Let's go ahead and look at our, see what we got in here. I think that's everything that we need. We'll create a requirements tab just to keep track of all that stuff. All right, great. So let's get in here. Let's start coding. So the first thing we're going to get is we're going to get that threading core library out. And that's going to allow us to operate threads with our webcam and also this program at the same time. So in order to operate our webcam, we're going to use the CV2. And for the facial recognition neural network, we're going to use DeepFace. And DeepFace is Pascal case. All right, so first thing we got to do is we got to capture our webcam stream. And we do that with the video capture method. Now, within this parameters, you can pass indexes. You could pass a path to, your home security camera, something else. Right now, I'm just going to use my default web camera, and I can just pass a 0, and that'll set to the default web camera. Second, we need to determine the proportions of our webcam stream. So how we do that is the OpenCV library has these methods to adjust it, and I'm just going to first, we're going to adjust the width. We're going to use standard dimensions here. So for the width, we're going to use 640, and we'll have it be, let's see, what's standard, 480 for the height. Okay, let me spell that right. Let's spell it right. Okay, great. Now we've got our proportions for our web stream. Now we need to initialize a counter here, and why do we need to do that? Because we're going to need to be able to keep track of which frame of webcam, which webcam frame we are on, because we need to make a call to our DeepFace API at specific frames. We'll get into that a little bit more, but right now you just need to know we need to initialize a counter so we can keep track. And let's also create a reference image. Let's see, reference. There we go. We'll spell it right. Did I spell it right? Yes, I did. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to read a specific file here. So one thing you got to be wary about is, so I've already taken a photo. This is going to be my reference image. You can see my face here. What we're going to do is, while the webcam is streaming, the program is going to compare the webcam face to this image. And if they're a match, you know, I think it outputs like a Boolean or something, but for our purposes, we're going to basically overlay a message on the screen that says, you know, match or not a match, or, you know, recognize, or whatever you want it to say. You can have it do other things, but for the purposes of this program, we'll just put a little splash message up here. All right. So coming back here, oh, another message on these reference images. You may need to take a couple of these. If you see the program hasn't worked properly, maybe you have a bad reference image. Maybe you need to take a few more, one with like a clear image of your face, etc. But this one should work. So moving on, we're going to create a global variable, and this is going to trigger our messages on our screen. More on this later, but we're going to set the default value to false, because initially there will be no, the faces won't match initially, right? We need the program to actually make the call before it goes true. So we'll use that in a little bit. Let's create our main program loop. So we'll have a, you know, while true program here. What just happened here? I don't need that other terminal. We'll come back here. Okay. So, all right, where do we go from here? Well, first we need to capture our webcam, right? So let's set this to, we need two variables here. We need a return value, so whether it's running or not. I can't use that keyword, so we'll just do that. But we also need the frame, right? That's coming out of this stream. And we're going to use those for different things. So if there is a return value, meaning if the webcam is rolling, cameras are rolling, then we're going to need to do some logic in here. Okay. If it's not, that's, you know, that means the program's not running. So how do we quit out of the loop? Well, let's create a way to quit this loop. We're going to create, we're going to use like a key to, you know, like an exit key, for example, to end the video cam broadcast, if you will. And, you know, let's choose, I like Q, just, you know, for quit, whatever. And that'll break us out of the loop. Okay. And lastly, when this program is all said and done, we need to get rid of any sort of like processes, threads, streaming cameras, you know, all that good stuff. Make sure it's all turned off. Make sure the program is good and done. All right, so this is our basic framework here. So let's get into this logic. So if the program is running, right, then we're gonna bring our counter in. Okay. So we want to trigger we want to check the face every like 15 frames or so, because if we did it like every frame, we could cause, you know, like traffic issues, and, you know, it might be a little buggy, it might be, you know, whatever. So let's do 30 frames for now. So every 30th frame, we're going to check matching face, you know, whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a thread, right? So every 30 thing, we're going to start a new thread that's going to it's going to run our check face function. We haven't built this out yet, but we will. And that's going to be passed in here as a target. Right now, it doesn't exist, but I'm going to build that out in a second. You can see that IDE is a little bit mad at me with that red squiggly. I'm going to build that out in a second. But so continuing, we need to pass some arguments into this thread. This thread is going to need a frame. We're going to use a copy of the frame, so we're not changing anything in place. Argument expects a tuple, so we're just going to give it, a comma and nothing, because we don't actually need anything more from it. And we'll start this thread. So camera's running. Every 30 seconds, we're going to start a new thread. The thread is going to make a call to this to our DeepFace function. All right. So let's build that out. Let's come up here. We're going to go helper. This is going to be our check face function, and we're using Python today, so we're do this. It's going to take a frame from our webcam, right? And we're going to, pretty much what we're going to do is, all this is going to do is it's going to toggle our global variable, right? Looks like I was trying to type Facebook there. All right, globe face match, okay? And so how do we do that? We're going to use the DeepFace library. All right, so if DeepFace verify, so we're gonna compare, this is going to be like a true false. It's going to turn true false. So if this is true, well, we'll see here in a second. So what do we pass in here? We're going to pass in a frame. We're going to pass in our reference image, because those are the two things we're comparing. We're going to do a copy of it. And I'm just going to add this label here. Help us keep track. All right. So what happens if that is true? Well, we're gonna toggle our face match to true, right? Means the face matches the webcam in the reference image. So that's good. And if it doesn't, what happens? Well, toggle it to false. Let's say the person on the webcam moves out of the frame of the webcam, and so it should be false. Okay, that looks pretty good. Before I move on, I'm going to do a little exception handling here. Error handling is always good practice. So let's see. We'll do there's going to be a value error, and we'll set this equal to the default. That way, if there's any sort of error, it doesn't change, or it just goes back to the default. Okay, great. So that's pretty much built out. So how do we use it in here? Well, all we got to do is pass our helper function into the target thread. We named it check face. Yep. And we're passing in these arguments. Going to start a thread. The other thing we got to make sure we do is we got to make sure we increment our counter, right? Because we're trying to keep track of how many frames have gone by. And if we didn't do that, none of this logic would work. So we need to make sure that's happening as well. Okay. We also need to show the video on the screen. So if there is a webcam recording, then we obviously need to show it. I'm going to name this video. You can name it whatever you'd like. That's just the title of it. And we're showing the frame, each frame coming through, right? Okay, great. So now what? That's all fine and dandy, but now what do we do? So what happens when we get a correct image? What happens if we don't get a right comparison, So let's just say, let's say there is a face match, right? So if face match, true, global variable, we're gonna put some text on the screen, okay? And OpenCV has this function, put text, and you can pass in all these sort of things. We're gonna put it onto the frame. We're gonna say match. All right, that's the text. Next is gonna be the position on the screen. So we'll do 20 pixels at 450 pixels. I should put it in the corner so it's not like right in the middle or, you know, in a place where we can't see it. Next we got to do the font. If you go onto the documentation, the OpenCV documentation, you can find these different fonts. I'm going to use this one. It's called Hershey Simplex. Hershey Simplex. Just a basic font, no big deal. Next parameter is a scale, so I'm gonna double it. I think one's a little small, it might not show up, so I'll just do 2 so it's not too big. Next we're gonna do colors. Your typical color scheme is RGB, right? Well, that's not the case in OpenCV. You got to remember that. It's gonna be backwards. It's gonna be blue, green, red. Okay, not red, green, blue. Blue, green, red. Okay, so you got to remember that. If you remember that, it'll be good. So if it is a match, we want green, right? So we'll give it full green. And lastly, the last parameter is the thickness of the lines. Let's just do 3. That should be good. Thickness of the font. Okay, so and then what if we don't have a face match? Let's, you could replace this function right here in the face match if you wanted to. You could put make it trigger a function that sets off an alarm or saves, their activity to a database or something. And then if else, and it's not a match, maybe you save that frame to a database so you can keep track of who's going in and out of your webcam. For example, let's say instead of up here you were using webcam, maybe you were piping in a security camera or something to a building, and then so down here, instead of just putting a splash screen, you could put in some functionality that would allow a screenshot to be taken of that frame and then save the frame to a database, so you have a database of everyone who's coming and going. But that's a little complex. Right now we're just going to try to see if we can get this to work. All right, so before we continue, this threading thing is a little complicated, so I'm going to put it in I'm going to do a little bit more exception handling here. So for whatever reason, if this doesn't work, we don't want the program to crash, so we'll just do this. We don't want it to crash. I'll just do pass for right now because, yeah, this is just for demonstration purposes. All right, so I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and run this program and see if we get any errors here. Thinking. Give it one more second. Give it another second. Oh, I see an error right here. Okay, so I messed this up. Okay, let's fix that. Let's try it again. Thinking. It does take a few seconds. It shouldn't take more than, 15, 20 seconds or so. Let's see what happens. All right, it's still going. Okay, spelling error right here. From width. From width. We gotta make sure we get that right. CB2 cap prop. Oh, it's frame width. That's why I was just missing the E. All right. Okay. None type. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so basically what this is saying is that there is no. This is still running. Essentially, what it's saying is there's a none type coming into this reference image. So. Oh, right, because we forgot to write in our path to our image, right? Let's make sure that our image is inside of our project folder. And then we should be able to just add it. Runner. All right. So when I'm not looking at this camera, I'm getting a no match. If I look at the camera, match, right? No match. Match. Cover my face. No match. Match. No match, right? So that part's working. I was hoping Q to quit, right? I forgot. So this is green. I actually want this red. And let's see if we can't get this a little bit more sensitive. So right up here where we got the 30, every 30th frame, we're checking the face, right? Well, there's a little bit of lag as the video goes on. So, I might turn my face and it won't immediately recognize me because it's waiting for that 30th frame to come up. So we can reduce this here. Let's say we go every 5 frames. The reason you don't want to do every 1 frame is because there's you might be just too much traffic. It's going to get buggy. But let's see if we can't get this a little bit more sensitive. We'll go ahead and run it again. See my face here. No match. Match, match, no match. Is it working? So yeah, see how it's a little buggy? Because it's checking too quickly. So let's see. 30 was too much. 5 is too little. Let's go 15. Let's see if we can dial this in a little bit. Okay. So now let's look at it here. Match, right? No match. So I mean, it doesn't know profile views because it's going off that reference image. Match. No match. This is the deep AI neural network comparing, okay? No match, match, no match, match. Right? So you can see, like, depending on what you want to have happen when a camera recognizes somebody, so like maybe I'm somebody that's stored in a database, you can have it trigger different things. Maybe you want doors to unlock when it recognizes somebody you know. Maybe you want just to take a screenshot of people you don't know. As you can see, this has probably a lot of different applications, but that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple program. You can change it to however you like, but yeah, thanks for staying tuned, and yeah, give me a holler if you have any questions. Leave me a like, drop a comment, connect with me on LinkedIn, yeah, all that good stuff. Thanks so much. Have a great day.